Hi and welcome to Mind Matters. Today we're talking all about ego. So stay tuned and we'll be right back after this. Well, that didn't work, did it? Okay, well, we're back. There we go. You had the short version of things today.
Mate, this
Hi,
is
Paul.
one of those days. This is just one of those days. It's all just. Should we just do juggling or something?
Well, we could.
We could.
If we could find a way to vertically juggle, that would take some prep and planning, and we don't do that. We just go live and talk. So let's do that instead. Hi to everyone who's watching so far, all of the millions of viewers that are rushing to tune in. Normally during the intro, Paul has a chance to share it on his channels and get everyone to tune in. So he's going to have to frantically do that while I'm waffling on. Today we're talking all about
I can do that.
ego. Good. I have every faith in you, Paul. Now, before we start, before we talk about it, and while I give some fill time for Paul to share things, I'll just kind of quickly reiterate, because this is our second episode of Mind Matters so far. The first one was just a waffly introduction, and this one's all about ego. And going forward, we'll have a different theme each week, but we'll also be here to answer any questions you have on the mind, human behaviour, anything that comes up, really. And in fact, somewhere I have prepared from last time a question that someone messaged me that they said, oh, actually, I'd quite like if you could answer this. Now, I've given her an answer to this. But I think it'd be really good for us to answer it publicly as well. So we'll come to that when we do some questions at the end, and that gives me time to find it. We were talking last time, and one of the things that came up was ego, and we said, well, we could do a whole episode on that. So here we are doing a whole episode on that, which is generally how Paul and I we mentioned that we could do something, and then we kind of make it happen. So, Paul, are you still going with the sharing thing?
You carry on, mate. I can chat to you while I'm doing stuff.
You can multitask?
Well, we all know that I'm going to mess this up, but I'm going to try.
I look forward to it. Okay, so let's start with the really easy question, right? What is ego?
You know what? You say it's easy, but I don't think it is. Because when you're working in the entertainment world, you think, and you say somebody's got a big ego, you normally expect them to be a diva, or they want too much, or they expect too much of you for not giving back much. But then also, on the flip side, and I was chatting with Jesse about this earlier, I know I've got a bit of an ego, but I don't think I'm a big diva. I must have some sort of ego, otherwise I wouldn't want to be on stage and I wouldn't want to be entertaining people. So actually, I think ego is a part of us. It's a part of our makeup. It's a part of our behaviours, and it's a part of how we react and behave around people. But the scary thing is, I think loads of people see the word ego and just think of it as a bad thing. I don't think it's bad at all. We just have different grey zones of ego. And yourself, what are you thinking?
Well, I think when I talk about ego, I make a point of Jesse confirms, yes, you were talking to him.
Thanks, Jesse.
Most people tend to know when they've been talking to you, right? The first thing that I say when people ask me about ego is, well, it depends on the context and the circumstance, right? Because as with so many wonderful elements of the English language, there's not one finite definition, and even if there was, it's still open to interpretation based on the context in the individual, right? So the first thing I say is that ego is not a negative thing. I really don't enjoy the definition that it has taken on, and so there's a place for it, I guess, because English evolves, where people see ego as being arrogant, right? It's that egotistical, arrogant, loud diva thing that you were talking about as well.
Yeah, you're now explaining the diva perfectly. Yeah.
But that's not, to me, what ego is. That's what it has become to be used for and to mean, but that's not what ego is. That's just a negative connotation that the word has taken on, right? And one worth considering, and we can probably talk about that some more. Then you've got the psychoanalysis side of things, which I like to think we've kind of outgrown and gone a bit beyond in our understanding of psychology. But, Freud presented the idea of having like the ego, which is the part that regulates between the id and the superego. So in layman's terms, you've got your subconscious and your conscious, and the ego sits in the middle and decides what's really right and what's really wrong, balancing out a part of your brain that just wants you to do all of the impulsive things and a part of your brain that wants to do nothing and keep you safe. And ego is the choices. It kind of suited his purpose, and it works well within that sphere of things, but it doesn't really stand up to our modern understanding of how the mind works, how the brain works, and how we think about things. But what it did do is it paved the way for people to think about it differently. And the reason he used the word ego, I'm guessing, I don't know this, never spoke to the guy, never met him. It's a bit of a weirdo. But when you look at the roots of the word ego, it literally means self or I, right? So from the Latin, ego simply means I, me. That's it. And this is where I love talking about ego and can get a little philosophical, because ultimately what we're really talking about, what I'm really looking at when I talk about ego, is the self, right? And now suddenly that's a whole other conversation and a whole other meaning. Philosophically, in metaphysics, they say that the ego is a conscious thinking subject. That's kind of the definition for it. And so then that leads me on to, I'm getting a bit preachy and waffly here, so I should probably let you say some stuff as well. But yeah, that kind of brings me to then question, okay, well, who are we? Because if ego is the self and we want to define ego, then surely we need to understand what I am, what we are as beings, and that's a fascinating topic.
See, now okay, I've just been away with 3 of my close buddies, and we've just done a boys' trip camping for a couple of days and just chewing the fat, drinking a couple of beers and having barbecues together and just enjoying each other's company and talking. And we're probably talking about things that we can't really discuss much in front of our kids. And the thing that was lovely, that for all of us, we've all gone past 40. I'm 44. I was the oldest one out of the group. And we're all in a position where we just kind of said, we're just really happy with who we are. And it was lovely to hear just a bunch of guys just saying, we're happy as being ourselves. And we know we're all different, and we know we have different skills, and we know we have different experiences and ways to look at the world. But it was just so nice sitting with 3 of my best mates, and they all just went, I'm just happy. I'm relaxed with who I am. I don't need to show off anymore. And especially as we'd kind of made this trip, because I wanted to get away for a bit from the entertainment lifestyle, where you have to almost show off constantly, because strangely, that's the bit of the entertainment world that I don't like. So yeah.
You say strangely, but I think that's really common in my experience in the entertainment world. Actually, some of the biggest stars, some of the people that love the limelight, it's not that they don't enjoy being the center of attention when they've got it switched on and it's work mode, but they are probably their own harshest critics, right? And they don't enjoy the importance, I guess, that's put on themselves, in the same way that they enjoy the opportunity to entertain, right? They're very different things. And I guess that's another definition of ego, which is kind of closer to the one we were talking about, which is a person's, looking it up, it's a person's self-esteem or self-importance, as if those two are interchangeable. And I guess they kind of are. But to me, self-importance sounds like the negative connotation of ego we were talking about. Self-esteem, well, we've all got an ego, we've all got a love for ourselves on some level or another, and actually most people I speak to could benefit from really engaging with it and embracing it more. And the people that consider themselves to, in my experience, the people that are most worried about, oh, I don't want to come across as arrogant, I don't want to appear to have an ego, are probably the ones that are least arrogant, right? Because the arrogant people don't question that so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, thankfully, I keep getting told by people that I'm not arrogant when I walk on stage. But they like the energy, they like the bounciness, they like the excitement that I bring. But then there's two very different Pauls. Okay, there's stage Paul, and he jumps around and he gets crowds excited and when next act's coming up, I don't even know the name of it, but you guys are gonna love it, kind of thing. Okay, and then as soon as I walk off stage, I can literally just become horizontal and sit there reading a book. It's because that's the real me. I want to just relax and be happy in my own place. And actually, Jesse, who commented a little while ago, he knows both sides of me very well, and he finds it quite funny. And then the thing that you just said about the importance of self-worth, you're
Yeah,
right, mate. The importance of that and understanding the way other people see your ego, that's a weird one. Because you're actually trying too much to figure out what other people's views on you are. And then you and I probably both teach people that other people's opinions don't matter. You know, their opinions of you have nothing to do with
I
you.
do also, uh, because within the empowerment industry, if you want to call it that, there is a real persistent argument that what someone else thinks doesn't matter, and you shouldn't care what other people think. And while I agree that it's hugely beneficial not to, I don't like the word shouldn't, especially in that context. I am not going to sit here and say I don't care what other people think. I used to say that. I've realised I was saying to myself as much as to everyone else. I care what other people think. Of course I do. But what I do is I make sure that I put that in context. You know, I put that in I look at the bigger picture and I go, okay, well, I care. It matters to me what someone else thinks, but where do I really rank that? You know, what kind of care is that? Do I care because it's a social interaction and I'm programmed to care what other people think? Still valid. Or do
Yeah,
I care because this person's opinion matters to me and I respect them? Like, either way, whatever end of the spectrum it is, it's still good to acknowledge that we do care, but
yeah.
that we don't need to be controlled by that concern, you know? Um,
That's a big
and this,
difference, isn't it? We do care,
yeah,
but we're not going to allow it to control.
yeah.
That's a lovely difference.
I find so often, and it's not just with whether or not we care about other people's opinions, but with so many things, the um, the idea that we shouldn't care about it and the desire to not care quite often leads to us allowing it to control and influence us more than it actually needs to. Because it's so important to not care what they think. I'm going to do this to prove that. Well, if you don't care, you don't need to prove anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. You're almost tugging directly against that to try and prove you don't care so much. But then it's already taken control of you.
And
Whereas,
that can be helpful, right? So, for example, going, Fred has said he doesn't believe I can do this. I do care what Fred thinks, but I care enough to use that as momentum to go and do the thing I want to do and prove him wrong. Not to rub his face in it, not to be aggressive about it, but to prove to myself that I can do it and and
yes,
and let the doubt from someone else spur me on for my own purposes and my own reasons. It doesn't need to be about anyone else, but it can just be handy having that and choosing to use it positively, you know?
now this is where you can start talking about people in any form of limelight getting haters and getting people who just want to
Yeah,
get people to troll them and quite. I know I'm lucky in this route. I know that I've got people behind me and next to me who help me deal with things like that, and Jesse is one of them. There's a couple of times that a comment has gone up on something on YouTube, and literally in the seconds it takes me to click on it just to look at what's been said, it's already been deleted because Jesse's looked at it and gone, well, that's pointless. We'll get rid of that. Don't need that kind of negativity. And it's gone. But something you said there about if he says I can't do this, I'm going to prove him wrong. And then afterwards you said, actually, it might not be about proving him wrong. It may just be about proving your own self-belief right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that side that side of it I love. If you're going out there just to prove someone else wrong, then maybe we need to have a chat because you're giving too much control to that person. If you're going out there to prove your self-belief right and to prove that you can do the things you say you're going to do, then I'm with you. Mate, this is... Sorry, I love this. I love how many different ways we can look at what... You think about it, it's a 3-letter word, it's ego. And we've had such a big conversation about self-belief, self-worth, what you can bring to the table, and how much control you let other people have on what your actions are. That's massive.
Yeah.
And I went into the stereotypical, I'm just going to think about entertainers and divas who I would class as too big an ego. And it just amazes me what we can get in, 15 minutes already.
Barely halfway through the show, and now we've got people tuning in because I finally got it sharing on Facebook as well. So we've got Sarah Higgs saying hello. We've got Madster. Hey, Madster, or Maddie. We've got... I shouldn't have started saying people's names because now I'm going to risk... I'm not going to risk pronouncing it wrong.
I'm going to go for Zahua, and hopefully she'll say, yes, that's right, or Paul, you're rubbish.
I'm just going to say that beautiful lady there. Thank you for commenting. Maybe you could let us know phonetically how to say your name in the comments. Anyway, okay, cool. You're right. It's a 3-letter word. In 15 minutes already, we've covered so much of it. So let's just go deep for a little moment.
Don't make me think too much. We've just had a weekend.
Okay. Well, we don't have to go into it. But my question to you would be, if ego does mean self, right, which ultimately, it means I, if you just go back to the origin of the word, what do you think within that context it really means? What is the self? Who are we?
Who are we? Wow.
Yeah.
What a question.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Do you know what? I honestly believe there's far too many people in this world that don't realise how amazing they are and how much they can do. And for those people, I wish that I could just take some amazing little drug and boost them with some self-confidence, because you can go and do the things you want to do, even if people have told you you can't. And then on the flip side, I've seen through working in the entertainment world for far too long, I've seen some massively inflated egos who treated people so badly on their way up that when they started falling down from that limelight, nobody wanted to help them because they were so arrogant with it. And you know what? I think it's so hard to find the balance, that mid-grey zone that you find yourself happy with. And some of the people that you've got commenting on here, I know they're absolutely brilliant people, and they still have those moments in their own head of self-doubt.
I think everyone does, I think. I think it's normal to have those moments of self-doubt. The difference is how you respond to them, what you do with that once you have it. And I got really excited as you were talking there, because you were talking about everyone truly being so powerful, and you wish you could give them a pill so they could have the confidence to see it. But my philosophy is so similar, but with one slight difference. Confidence isn't something that's out there. It's not some magic pill, and it's not something that you need to learn or develop. I mean, sure, practicing it makes you better at feeling it and displaying it more often, absolutely. but it's in there.
Yeah.
We are all, by our nature, default confident people.
Yes.
When we're in that moment, because when I ask you to think about a time when you felt really confident, most people kind of go, even confident people, because when you're in a moment where you're really confident, you're in flow, you're just doing, you're being, right? You are just being you. You don't stop and think, oh, I feel confident with this, because you're just you. And people think confidence needs to be extrovert. People think confidence needs to be standing on a stage and performing to the world. And just because I love doing that doesn't mean that that is confidence. And actually, trust me, I've seen plenty of people doing that and not feeling it inwardly, right? True confidence, real confidence is just being yourself. We can all do that. We're all excellent at doing that because at the core, that's who we are. So that's kind of the ego, right? Ego is confidence, but not this bravado, not this fake ego, not this front. It's real, true confidence. It's who you are. That's why it's the self, right? And so you don't need to learn anything new. You don't need a magic pill. You just need to unlearn shit. You just need to get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter. And suddenly it's just easy to be you again. And that's where the magic lies, right?
Do you know
All
what?
right, darling.
Hey, Simon. Right. I've had this argument with hypnotherapists before when they say confidence is like a big block and you know, it gets chipped away at, and then you keep chipping away at. You know, a father might say this is bad and chip away, and somebody else said this is bad, chip away. I disagree with that analogy. Okay, because I actually think think of yourself as a confident person who stands tall and walks clean and strong and can get through almost anything. I actually say when people are trying to take your confidence away, they're hanging a little weight bag on you. And they keep adding extra bags onto your belt, and they attach them to your shoes, and they attach them to the back of your collar. And eventually there's so many doubts hanging there that you're moving slowly. It's harder to go forward. It's harder to push now. Now, the stupid thing is that all you have to do is stop, take them off, and go. And you release all of that self-doubt stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I prefer that analogy because if you chip away at something, you can never fully rebuild it. Whereas
I completely agree. I'd just add one extra thing as well, which is a lot of the weight that those people are carrying hasn't even been hooked on. It's in their bloody hands. Just let go. Just release. A lot of it.
Sometimes somebody comes, put your hand up, and you go, "Yeah, put weight there, okay." Or you could just go, "I'll drop that then."
And, do you know? And this is probably something that you lean on a bit more than I in your approach to things. But isn't it brilliant how if you hand someone something, they'll take it?
Yeah.
Especially if someone's on a phone call, right? This is great fun. If someone's on a phone call, their attention's divided, right? So they're not really paying full attention to you. Hand them something, anything. Watch them take it. Watch their face as they go, hang on, why am I holding this? And sometimes that's not until the phone call ends. But yeah, just see how much you can hand someone while they're on the phone. It's hilarious. It's great.
Duncan, it's even worse than that. If you want something they've got in their hand, hand them one thing, and then they go, okay, so I've now got this thing you've handed me and another thing. And then hand them the next thing in the hand of the thing that they've got that you want, and they will naturally just give that thing to you. Boy, it's amazing. And people don't even realise, and you can walk off with their phone, and they're just stood there with a banana and an apple going, what just happened?
By the time they realise, it's too late for them to do anything about it. Kat says, I feel very confident in myself, but still have moments and situations where I wobble, and that's called being human. Right? Now, there are things that you can do, both in the way of tools and techniques that you can use in the moment, and also in terms of working on that underlying confidence in other situations that stop that from being as big an impact. But believing it to be a problem is the problem in itself. It's okay to have wobbles that are where you're recognizing that you feel nervous or anxious about something, because that's life, that's human, and it keeps you safe. Okay, right, we don't have time left, so if anyone who's watching has questions, please throw your questions into us and we shall answer them while we've got the time.
Sorry, how have we done 25 minutes already? That's just madness.
Yeah.
25.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy? So we've got a question that's come in here then, Paul, which I'll let you field because I know this person quite well and can answer her all the time, but it might be nice for her to hear it from someone different. So different perspective.
Right, okay, that's a bit of a strange one because I've never had confidence in my entire life. It's funny, I have confidence in the job, but no confidence in myself, if that makes sense. Step number one, no, it doesn't make sense. If you've got confidence in part of it, then you have some confidence in there already. You're kind of proving what Duncan said. The confidence is there. What about if you just looked within yourself, within your head, draw it, and if you're a visual person, just draw this for me, okay? You can draw a switch and look at that switch, and it says confidence on and confidence off. Literally, the next time that you feel like I've got no confidence in this, just shut your eyes, ground yourself for a second, okay? Look at that switch and turn the confidence on. Now, the weird thing is, if you do this right, you will notice a slight boost in your feeling and your confidence. Now, if you do it right and acknowledge that boost and feel happy with that boost, the next time you do it, it can feel more and more powerful. Now, Duncan knows that I'm starting to use stage hypno techniques here, but this is just a way to trick your own brain into going, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And eventually, you stop needing the switch. But yeah, that's a strange sentence.
Yes. So I also know that Maddie has dyslexia, and she won't mind me sharing that, I'm sure. So what she probably meant was I've never had confidence in myself, but I do have confidence in the job that I do. I think that's the key difference. But your answer still covers that nicely, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
if you've got confidence,
she proves she can have confidence in the things she does.
Exactly.
Addy, you got this. You got this, mate.
The question I had that came in anonymously after our last one, which I said I would ask anonymously on their behalf for you now, was one that obviously I can answer in lots of different ways and go into depth on, but it would be nice to get a perspective from someone who's not me. How do I switch off? Basically, how do I switch off?
Do you know what? It's a choice. It's honestly a choice that you have to make. And it's, don't get me wrong, I don't want to belittle this at all, but the more often you make that choice to switch off and let yourself relax, the easier it becomes. Now, I can sit down and I can worry about the next show I'm going to do. I can worry about the audience I'm going to walk out in front of. I can worry about those people I've never met before and I'm going to have to go and make them laugh, going to entertain them, going to make them get excited. Or I can be in the now, enjoy what I've got around me now, switch off from those things that really don't need to bother me until I'm in that situation and dealing with them. And I can be right now enjoying my time with my wife and my daughter and my dog. So it really is a choice. Horribly, it's a choice. And the more times you make that choice, the easier it becomes for you. So whoever that's to, if you need a hand, shout.
Yeah, totally. So to elaborate, and this may not be a generic answer for everyone, but to elaborate for that person, it's also worth considering that being happy in the moment and with the things around you, you have the power to choose to surround yourself with more positive influences that you can be appreciative of and grateful for, and choose where you place your focus. That plays a part in it as well. So going back to an earlier point, Kat said, that's funny. That's how I've always been previously, the confidence in a job, but not in me. Then lockdown took that work role away. So I moved that confidence into me. And I love the wording there. I moved that confidence into me. Because so often we do view, like I was saying earlier, confidence isn't an external thing, but sometimes we feel like it is. So that language of moving it internally is a really powerful way of wording it. And actually, we all have the ability to do that. Take things that are there, that are positive, that are good around you, find ways to internalize them. We do it naturally, automatically, with good things and often with bad things. How often do you internalize a belief from a parent or someone else, particularly when it's a negative thing? It can work positively as well. So, yeah.
Perfect. Kat, that's lovely, mate. I really love the way you dealt with that. Awesome. Good work.
Excellent. You broke up a little bit there, but basically what I heard was compliment, compliment, I'm wonderful. Is that about right?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that's good.
Excellent. Even if it wasn't, that's what I'm going to imagine it was. And that is 4:30. So that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm now realizing that I should have planned ahead to find out what what we're going to be talking about next week. So bear with me while I have a look. Paul, entertain our audience.
Do you know what? Actually, is the video all right at the moment?
Just about.
For people who haven't seen me before, 2 elastic bands. We put one behind the other like that, and we check they're trapped by doing that. All good? I then check them the second time, and it should just go straight through the elastic band. See, that's how annoying I am, people.
Amazing. So our next month, we're going to be talking about in our next episode. Confidence. Excellent. So we've touched on that today. We'll go into a load more detail on that next time. So that's going to be brilliant.
And actually, Duncan, can I just say to everyone that's been sending questions in to Duncan and to me, thank you so much. Please do keep them coming in, because it's such a big help for us too. Because we sit here and we think, well, we know all this stuff and we know this about this and that and the other, but they might not find that interesting. So if you ask us questions, we'll cover as much as we can.
Absolutely. And off the back of that as well, there are going to be other people that have the same questions, but either haven't even realized that they want to know the answer or don't want to ask that question. And that's okay. So, thank you so much for asking. Please do keep the questions coming in. And if you don't want to do it live and identify yourself, message me, message Paul. We'll absolutely answer your question in the session, or privately, just between us if you prefer. That's fine as well. The important thing is that you get help and support, even if it's just a point of curiosity. You never know where that could lead. And if you want to find out more, head to mindaffinity.co.uk/mind matters. You'll see a picture of his beautiful face and my average, unshaven, messy head.
Gorgeous.
and you'll see what all of our upcoming episodes are and everything else. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. While you're here, why not hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube? If you're not, then go to YouTube and hit subscribe, and you can get notifications about our future episodes.
Yeah, I have subscribed to your channel.
Woohoo! Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Cool. Right, and we will leave it there. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Paul, thank you so much. And if not before, I'll chat to you in a month's time. Last Monday of every month.
See you later, guys.
Bye.